Hey, what's up, champions? Welcome to Growth Mode. I'm your host, Donnie Bovine, the CEO and founder of Success Champions. I am a sales and automation tactician.
No, he is not. He is not an automation tactician.
Holy shit, we're going to keep rolling. Fuck. I spent years in the sales and business development game, and I spent the last four scaling and growing a business and learning how to teach others to do the same. Hanging out with me is the sales and automation tactician and genius, Kevin Snow, the founder of Time on Target, my right-hand lady, and he is doing amazing and awesome things for me. Kevin, on this show, what the hell are we talking about?
See, we now have video and audio evidence that Donnie wants to be like me. Hashtag Team Kevin. It is
Holy
official.
Hell. Holy hell.
Yep.
What's this episode about, bud?
Hey, so today we're going to talk about networking, specifically how to get introduced to the right people. I hear this from people all the time. Oh, networking doesn't work. I never get introduced to the people I need to meet. And my answer is always, because I'm the empathic one, well, that's because you're doing it wrong.
Kevin has no emotions.
I do have emotions.
Maybe no soul. And, you know, after the intro of this thing, obviously I want to be just like him, you know. So no, he does have emotions, just lacks all empathy. You know, and you know,
I don't do the that's so bad. I'm sorry. I don't coddle.
Yeah. I don't know what it is.
Can we get back to the topic and not have this be a, hey, let's talk about Kevin's
emotional
maturity? I know, but that's not what they came to this episode to listen to.
Fair enough. You know, so I truly believe that the reason you're not getting introduced to the right people is most likely you're not asking to be introduced to the right person. You know, I mean, it comes down to most people, because they're so in their head, want to serve everybody and help everybody. It makes it very difficult to make introductions for them and get them introduced to somebody. You know, I sat down with a guy today, you know, and had a virtual coffee, and I'm like, okay, walk me through specifically what you do so I can help wrap my head around who I can introduce you to. Because I can't fully comprehend it. And once I got him to walk me through what he did, I now understand that I need to get him to CEOs of ad agencies that will use his services. But up until that point, I could not figure out who I'd open doors for and who I'd introduce him to. So I think part of the battle and strategy is we as individuals have got to be so crystal clear on who we want to meet so that we can legitimately tell others who they can introduce us to.
I think part of it is people don't teach their referral partners how to recognize a referral. You know, like, and I always use the chiropractor story. A good referral for me is a good referral for me is anyone with a spine. Okay, I have 5,000 people in my network. I know lots of people with pets. Are Donnie's goats good for you? Who is a you know?
You know what? I used that joke, Kevin. You know that anybody with a spine. I have goats, and somebody was like, "You realize there's chiropractors for goats?" I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here."
Yeah, there are pet chiropractors that just do it. Yeah, that is a thing. But
you know, but it's the same thing. It's like an insurance person. They're like, you know, anybody with a heartbeat. Or a real estate person saying, you know, anybody with a house. Okay, cool. I've got a buddy who's got a mobile home out on 30 acres of land that is infested. Do you want to talk to him, right? It's insane to me that people don't get crystal clear on teaching others how to open doors.
And for real estate, it's so easy. A good referral for me is your niece who just got engaged. A good referral for me is your sister who announced that they're having a baby.
I mean, you just had me all hung up for a second. I'm like, my niece didn't get engaged, and I realized you were saying a generic statement. And in my head, I'm like, my niece is fucking 18 years old. Her ass better not be engaged yet.
Yeah. She has a boyfriend.
No, she kicked him to the curb.
Oh, I did not know that. All right,
Yep.
Well then,
had me all
Scott lost his fishing partner.
Right. So, but yeah, it comes down to get people to introduce you to the right people. You literally got to be able to tell the story so that they can know exactly who to make introductions for. What do they listen to? What are the triggers? What are the keywords they should be listening for, and what should they hear? I've got a 3-letter acronym. So I wrote a whole book called Endless Stream of Referrals that you can go out on Amazon, just type in Endless Stream of Referrals, and I think you can get it for 99 cents. But in there, one of the activities I teach is this whole idea of CAP, which is an acronym, which is CAP, and it stands for Characteristics, Alternatives, and Problems. And when you think about trying to explain to people who you need to be introduced to, it's really simple. What are their characteristics? Are they a business owner? How big's the company? How many employees do they have? What industries are they in? What other characteristics can you come up with? How long have they been in business? Who's their competition? When you think about alternatives that the people you need to be introduced to is what are people spending money on that they should be spending with your company? And I always use this story, and I use it in the book too, of when I was doing sales training. I had a guy, we were getting ready to do the deal and train all their sales team, and at the last minute he pulled out of doing sales training, and I asked him what happened. He said, I just went and spent all the money on billboards. I'm like, wait, so instead of training your salespeople, you're spending money on billboards. So as a kind of a joke, but real, at all my networking stuff, I'd go around and I said, I need people who are spending money on billboards. That'd be a great introduction for me. So when you think about alternatives, or what are they spending their money on that they should be spending with you? And then the last one is problems are, what problems do you help companies solve? And if you're sitting across from somebody and say, look, I need a business owner who's doing $1.2 million, $1 to $2 million a year. They have 10 salespeople. Their biggest struggles and problems are their salespeople's numbers are low. They're not doing enough cold calls, reach outs, and this, that, and the other. And they're spending money on billboards. You can get a really specific with who you're trying to get introduced to.
The other one that I always like and I work with my referral partners on is significant events. So what significant event is going on in that person's life or in their business? We're launching in a new market. We're expanding internationally. We're getting married. Someone had a car accident. What is that significant event that just occurred that is going to be the trigger for them needing your service?
Yeah, I love that. So, think about, whatever your industry is. We'll go back to sales training because that was, was the freshest one of mine before I launched the company. But, you can think about things like, did new competition come into town? Did a new way of doing business happen? Did the market go up? Did a new sales manager come in, or do you have a new CFO, CEO, do you have a new board of directors, anything that signals a significant event becomes a trigger for somebody else to look out for. So they can make a really, really, really easy introduction for you. So another healthy exercise is sit down and write down what are all those significant events that could signal that you are a good place to be introduced.
So to be able to do this really effectively, I think it's important for business owners and salespeople in general to understand that, hey, you need to be following the industry news. You need to be understanding what's happening in your industry and how it's going to be affecting clients and what's also going on in their industries. You know, what regulations are coming out, what things are happening that is going to open a door for you. I do digital marketing, and a section of our industry is being rocked right now with the new Apple interface, with the whole idea, hey, we're not going to track your stuff anymore. So now all these digital marketers that were using the tracking information are now scrambling and trying to figure out how to do it. And now that's opening a door for companies who have been forward thinking to be able to come and say, hey, we already got a solution for this. Let us show you how to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's crazy because oftentimes, you know, people don't think about these significant events and how they'll impact. You know, we'll even go talk about this podcast. You know, we hosted on Captivate, and, you know, Apple just did a huge, massive, you know, turn, and, you know, they're going into potentially premium subscription, or they are going into premium subscription models. You know, and for our podcast hosts, I'll give them kudos and be like, hey, you can do Apple, but you can already do that with our program. You know, because they were so forward thinking, you know, they had a potential upsell opportunity to us and, you know, other people who host on their platform to, you know, use more of their services. Well, if you're watching out for those things, or you tell your networking partners, you know, these are the significant things I need you to be looking for, when those things happen, man, it's like this light bulb will go off. Your face will show up in their head, and you're like, oh my God, you need to talk to so-and-so, because that's exactly. And, you know, Andrew, who's one of the guys up in our New York chapter of Success Champions Networking, he's got just a great story that I can't help but not think about every time I talk about this. But he unfortunately lost a newborn baby early on in his life, and he now sells, you know, life insurance. And so he's got a little business card that anytime he sees somebody with an infant, he hands them the card, because not only is there emotional trauma when you lose a newborn, but there's a financial trauma. You still got all the hospital bills, and you still have all the things you got to take care of, which just adds on to all the other crap that you're mentally going through. So he's adamant about, you know, handing these cards to people with newborn babies and babies in general to let them know that this is something they should be looking into. So now I can't help but see a newborn and think of Andrew every time, because that's a story he put in my head that became a trigger that I use on a regular basis. So when you think about, you know, getting introduced to the right people, what are those triggers? What are those stories you're telling them? How are you getting them to remember you, so that when they come across that significant event, they come across that trigger, your name comes up?
Well, then it's also important to teach them how to make that introduction, because that can go really well or it can go not so good, and you don't get the meeting. So, you know, that was something I always did too at the beginning. It's like, hey, here's what I want you to say about me. Here's what I found is the best way to introduce me. And I'm totally fine with people doing it by email. Some people like doing it by phone, but help them know what to say, because that makes it even easier, because now they have it internalized, say, oh,
well, we talk about in this show that Kevin and I are going to debate, and we're going to debate this one, because if you've gotten an introduction from me, and anybody who's ever been introduced by me can tell you, usually my introduction is, Kevin, go meet Mike, Mike, meet Kevin, go have a coffee. Because for me,
that is how he does it.
Well, because if I got to put any more words into it, I'm going to fuck it up. Because now I can introduce you, Kevin, all day long and tell somebody 100% why they should sit down and sit across from you. But I can't do that with everybody. Mm-hmm. You know, so for most people, instead of me trying to convince somebody else why you should, I'm just going to tell you, dude, go get a fucking coffee with this person. Y'all figure it out. And 9 times out of 10, that turns into an absolutely badass conversation.
Well, and I don't think it's so much about convincing them. It's, you know, hey, you need to meet Donnie. He does this.
And well, everybody should meet Donnie, because I'm Donnie.
Okay.
Lord,
for our listeners, there was a really big eye roll right there from me. So if you want to see the actual facial expressions,
yeah,
if you want to see the actual facial expressions I make when Donnie says things like that, watch us on YouTube. It'll be entertaining. And then you can see him actually say that he wants to be like me.
Right, right. So, but, all in all, guys, I think if you're looking at how do I get people to introduce me the proper way, how do I get people to open doors for me, how do I get them to put me in contact with the right people, I think you got to make it easy for them. I think you've got to, exactly who you need to talk to. I think you got to know the significant events, the triggers, the keywords, the things that when these things are said or brought up or happen, make your name come top of mind. And then I think you got to find yourself in a situation where you're weekly getting together with people so you stay top the fuck of mind. Because most times the reason you're not getting introduced is people flat out fucking forgot about you. And that's one of the reasons we have the networking groups, is because it gives you a chance to stay, in touch with your best referral partners. So, as always, guys, if you got a tip, trick, knowledge, or anything of value out of this episode, do us a favor and teach somebody else how to subscribe, listen, or follow. I appreciate you as always, guys, and we'll catch you on the next go-around. See ya.